Last year, we had to wait till opening day for Luka Bogovac to be cleared. But this year, we just got great eligibility news about 3 Tar Heels in the middle of August. Let's go.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. This episode's brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. Coming up on the show today, a whole lot out of Coach Malone over the past few days that we're going to talk about on the show today and tomorrow. The majority of which on today's show is going to come from the official announcement of the Carolina-NC State non-conference game this year. But Coach Malone had a media scrum at that where he talked about the non-con schedule, so we'll discuss that. Plus, like it or not, this non-conference game with NC State, get used to it because it ain't just happening this year. But before that, great eligibility news on not just Sayon Keita, not just Alexandros Samodurov, but also Cameron Fens. Frontcourt, thank goodness. Now, I got to bring the vibe down for just a second. My alma mater is Milligan University. For those who are regulars on our show, Milligan University's head basketball coach, Bill Robinson, comes on this show once a week. He's a regular at Carolina basketball camp. And some devastating news out of the school on Wednesday, where Wednesday morning, the Milligan cycling team was out for a practice. They were out on a ride, and a car struck them, killing 2 members of the team and injuring multiple others, sending them to the hospital. This is terrible news. And so if you're a person that prays, I'll ask you to lift up prayers. And if you're not a praying person, just, send some thoughts to Johnson City, Tennessee, and the Milligan University Buffaloes community today. Horrible news. So anyway, no good way to hard right back turn into it, but I had to get that out of me, and so thanks for partnering with me in that. Okay. Great news about Carolina's front court on Wednesday. We weren't really expecting anything, and then Coach Malone talked about 2, and the court hooked us up with some Cameron Fens news. So Wednesday was the official announcement of the Carolina-NC State non-con battle. Again, we're going to talk about that in segment 2. But the news is that Keita and Samodurov are good to go. There was no press release. There was no anything leaked or anything. Just in this media scrum after the announcement, very next to last question, I believe it was Andrew Jones, way to go, AJ from Tar Heel 247, who said, Are Sayon and Samo fully cleared, or are there still a few more hurdles for them? And here is Coach Malone's exact response. Quote, as far as I am aware, doesn't sound super confident, but okay. As far as I'm aware, they're both cleared. They're in class. They're in workouts. I think, again, not super confident, I think everything is a go, end quote. So if we take Coach Malone at his word here, which we have no reason but to not do so, the 2 international bigs are good to go. Keita just got here on Saturday, and if it was last year's timeline with Bogovac, it should have been years before he was cleared. But according to Coach Malone, things are great to go. And with Samodurov, there's been a lot of conversation around that too. Now, I will admit, I have some hesitation with this. It almost feels like it caught Coach Malone off guard, and he was like, well, they're here and they're practicing, so I guess they're good, right? It almost felt like the answer of somebody who hadn't been through this before and didn't fully know. I hope it's not that, but it did have those vibes. If you watched it, you probably know what I mean. If you didn't watch it, you should, and see if you agree with me or disagree. I would love to be wrong about this, but it just felt like Coach Malone didn't fully have it concrete. Now, assuming that it is concrete, this is great news, because to me, a big part of what Luka Bogovac struggled with last year was with the uncertainty of knowing if he was going to be able to play or not. I think it really held him back. And so with both Samo and Keita knowing that they're good to go, It changes how they practice. It changes how you have to approach things if you're the staff. Think about it. If you know here on August 20th that these guys are good to go, you don't have to bake in any contingency plans. Like, what if Keita is not granted eligibility? How do we approach our roster in playing time and rotation, right? You don't have to worry about that. Same with Samodurov. If assuming Coach Malone knew what he was talking about, which again, I'm not 100% that he was, it's in great shape. Now, the other bit of news is that Cameron Fens, according to the Tennessee court who is handling the NCAA's appeal, has denied it. Meaning, again, Cameron Fens is good to play college basketball this season, and this is great news. So let me now give you the backstory. Cameron Fens, like every other class of 2022 player, has eligibility right now because of the Colorado case that covers the whole class. But Fens was in that was a federal case. Fens was in a state level case in Tennessee. Funny, which the main plaintiff named is Jalen Washington. But Cameron Fens is in that with, I believe it's 19 total student athletes. And that one had already been granted an injunction a couple weeks ago, but the NCAA appealed it. That was heard on Monday. And on Wednesday, yesterday, the 20th Judicial District of Tennessee in Nashville came back and said, nah, it's not good enough, NCAA. You have not, what did they say? I went and read it because I'm a dork. The evidence in this record led the court to conclude that the NCAA has not demonstrated that it will suffer irreparable harm absent a stay. A couple sentences later, the court finds that the student athletes are the ones who will suffer irreparable harm. A season that expires while an appeal is pending will be impossible to restore later for these plaintiffs. And it goes on to say they've only got 1 year of eligibility left. And so if this keeps going, monetary, payback is not going to do them any good because they won't be able to play. They've got 1 season of eligibility and we need to let them. So just like Coach Malone let us know about Keita and about Samodurov, the court, thank you, Tennessee, let us know that Cameron Fens and all his plaintiff buddies, they're not buddies, but whatever, are good to go as well. And so this is great news because in all three, none of the eligibility questions were surrounding the backcourt. The backcourt's good to go. It was all about the front court because if Fens isn't eligible, if Keita and Samodurov are ineligible, you've got Cade Bennerman, you've got Jarin Stevenson, you've got, slide Maximo Adams to the 4 more often than you thought. Maybe you have to say, well, shoot, maybe we go after one of these other guys that's out there blowing in the wind. But thankfully, they're all 3 eligible. Coach Malone went on to say, I'm just happy that as of Saturday night, everybody on our roster was in Chapel Hill. And on Monday morning, everybody was in class. That's great news. So the roster is intact, but not only that, but the roster is eligible. And now, as I said earlier in the week, with Keita in town, now you can go to work. And you can go to work with the assurances that your entire roster is going to be eligible. And yes, Coach Malone confirmed that, quote, our roster is set. In response to, you adding anybody else or are we set? No, it is set. This is the 26-27 Tar Heels. So again, I fully expect at some point in the very near future for this roster to be announced where we get the whole thing in jersey numbers and all that. And that'll be great. And we'll talk about it and it'll be fun. Now, again, the whole reason Coach Malone was there in Greensboro was for the official announcement of the Carolina-NC State non-conference matchup for this upcoming season. And like it or not, you better get used to it because it's going to happen again next year. Wait, what? Yeah, I'll explain it coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Kalshi, before the season even kicks off, everybody's out here making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoff? Who's lifting the trophy at season's end? And on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. What I love is they've already got win totals for Carolina basketball this season. What you do is you choose yes or no on 15 plus wins, 18 plus wins, and on up 21, 24, 27. Whichever of those thresholds you want to go with, just pick yes or no. Do multiple of them for all I care. It's great. Because on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft, pick the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the app and use code LOCKEDON to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade 25. Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. All right. On Wednesday, there was basically a press conference in Greensboro at the Coliseum, which is not just called the Greensboro Coliseum anymore. It's now officially Greensboro's First Horizon Coliseum. Tell me the times are changing without telling me the times are changing. Am I right? And the big takeaway for me, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of it, is, look, I know we don't love the fact that we're having to play NC State in a non-conference game to get it to twice a year. Fine, whatever. And again, as I've continued to say, it's NC State's fault that Cal and Stanford and SMU are in the ACC. They were the final vote. And so I don't feel like we should placate them by playing this other game. Like, you made this bed, you got to lie in it. I'm going to continue to say that till I'm blue in the face. I'll back up now. I'm finding that I do that more often now. When I get hot and bothered about something on the show, I move in and I talk more closely like this because I want to make it count. But fine, whatever the game is happening, I don't mind whipping State's butt twice in a season. So sure, bring it on. But here's the breaking news as of Wednesday that I was not aware of. Again, next season. In fact, in the Carolina official release of it, it says the teams will return to Greensboro for the second Tobacco Road Classic, which is the official name of this event, during the 27-28 season. So if you like this event, congrats, they're doing it next year. If you don't like it, sorry about you. It's happening again next year. And that also tells me, oh, by the way, here's the other takeaway, that because the makeup is that the teams will only play once in ACC play next year, right? Because again, here's the makeup of ACC scheduling. 18 games against, there's 17 other teams in the ACC. There's one team you don't play at all, which is the dumbest thing in the world to me. That's Clemson this year. Carolina's not playing Clemson in the regular season. I find that purely atrocious, like truly, truly abhorrent, but fine, whatever. And then you have one annual partner who you play home and away every year. Of course, for Carolina, thankfully, that's Duke. And then one rotating team you play twice every year. So this year for Carolina, that's Louisville. Once again, Carolina's playing NC State just at home this year. They played just in Raleigh last year. So my assumption is based on the fact that they're going to play this non-con game again in 27-28, is that they will only be playing once again next year. Because they certainly wouldn't play three times in a regular season. That would be silly. You reading between the lines with me on that? Yeah. Which, again, I think the way they've done the schedule is so silly. Like, yeah, let's play Duke twice every year. Let's have that one annual thing. But then let's not play anybody else twice so that you can play everybody else once. That's what makes sense. Oh, my good grief. Anyway. Like, you and I could come up with the ACC schedule better than the ACC. That's what grinds my gears, to use a Peter Griffin term. So there you go. Carolina playing NC State officially this year in non-conference and officially next year in non-conference. This year, it is called the Tobacco Road Classic, which I'm here for that name. Although with that nomenclature, oughtn't we to get Duke and Wake into this thing as well? Why not? Bring it back. The Big Four. Just saying, especially if conference realignment happens. Anyway, the Tobacco Road Classic presented by Old Dominion Freight Line. This year it's happening on December 15th. It is the first non-conference matchup between these two schools since 1979. And again, it's at Greensboro Coliseum, which I'm going to refuse to call anything else. But if you want to know the name, Greensboro's First Horizon Coliseum. Also, as a reminder, great news, Carolina, one of their exhibition games is going to be here, the one against USC. And I'm still waiting because now you can play 3 exhibition games. The NCAA is allowing that publicly. And so Carolina has announced 2 of them. That'll be Indiana and USC. And I'm hopeful that we'll get a third as well as a blue-white. Like, take every advantage you can to play games, right? What I love then is Coach Malone went on to talk some about the Carolina-NC State rivalry as part of this. He said, look, yes, all this rivalry is new to me, but it is not lost on me. Like, I wasn't an idiot. I didn't not know about it. And I think the thing is, for most people on the outside looking in, they know the Carolina-Duke rivalry, but I think a lot of people probably don't get the just pure vitriol of the Carolina State rivalry, right? I think that is probably more regionally known than the Duke rivalry. And specifically the nuances of the vibe of each rivalry. You know what I mean? Like, the Duke Carolina rivalry is very different than the Carolina State rivalry. I feel like there's mutual respect with Duke, and I feel like there's just pure good old hatred between Carolina and State. Both football and basketball, I feel that way. And I don't feel like the Duke Carolina rivalry in football rises to the level of any of those other 3, of Duke or of Carolina State football, Carolina State basketball, or Carolina Duke basketball, right? I feel like the Carolina Duke football rivalry would be 4th in that, in terms of like what we care about winning. You know, we want to win everything, but I feel like that one matters the 4th most out of all that. But what I love that Coach Malone went on to say is, while it's new to him, it's not lost on him, but I loved the way he put this. He said, quote, "We got to make sure we're caretakers," meaning, yes, so much is changing in the landscape of collegiate athletics, but he gets and understands the historicity of this and how important it is to be a caretaker of these very special rivalries, because while the hatred is there, that's what makes it so fun and special, is you just want to obliterate the other team. And he went on to talk about the history of the ACC tournament being in that building in Greensboro Coliseum. And he said, like, he pulled this out of his hat. He said, the ACC championship always Sundays at 1 p.m. Like, he knew it, man. I loved it. You know, that's back in the good old days when the ACC was just 9 teams. Like, that's my childhood. That's what I grew up on. And Coach Malone sees that. He knows it. He recognizes it. And he's now adding himself into the stream of it. And I'm grateful for that. I love that he's jumping in with 2 feet into that history. And I appreciate the respect between he and Justin Gainey. Coach Gainey, NC State's new coach, seems like a good dude. He said, I've gotten to know Justin a little bit. I have a huge amount of respect for him. But here again, Coach Malone adding in the history of all this. He said, but for Derek Wittenberg from NC State and Phil Ford to be here, that's a snapshot into the past, coming to celebrate a game we're going to play here, end quote. Like, your takeaway from that, Coach Malone gets it. Like, say what you will about Bill Belichick, the man loves the game of football. He is a nut about it. He knows the history inside and out. And that's Michael Malone too, man. And I love having encyclopedic coaches at the head of these 2 Carolina programs. Like, I think that's super cool. And maybe because I'm a dork and I love history and stats and all that as well. And it means something to me. Like, I want to look into the future, but I want to respect and appreciate the past. And I love that that's Coach Malone. I love that that's Coach Belichick. So thank you to both of them. But now let's go whip NC State's butt in non-conference action this year and again next. Now, while we know some things now about Coach Michael Malone, we don't know everything yet, but we're starting to get pieces of it. And something that I love is that this dude is not backing down from any fight. He wants to play anybody, anywhere, at any time. And he had some things to say about that on Wednesday. We'll talk about it in just a second. As part of the media scrum with Coach Malone as part of the press conference surrounding the Carolina-NC State matchup, one of the big takeaways for me, we've seen Carolina's non-con slate. Again, let me pull it up for you. By the way, for those of you watching, a little added bonus if you're on the YouTube side of things. If you're listening, no worries, you're not missing out. You can always go find this on my Twitter feed. In fact, I should probably pin this on my Twitter feed, just where the schedule is at right now. As a reminder, we're still waiting on one non-conference game. We know 13 of the 14 games, and we know 2 of the hopefully 3 exhibition games, plus hopefully again an intra-squad, a blue-white scrimmage. We'll see what happens there. But from the makeup of this non-conference, obviously some of it was already in place. You don't get options with the ACC, SEC, the Georgetown series. That's the back end of a home and home. CBS Sports Classic, Carolina's already locked into that, some things like that. But what I love about Coach Malone is he's talked a lot about already how tough he wants his teams to be, how hard he wants them to play. I really, really hope that he's able to do a lot to change the wine and cheese narrative. I think people that already throw that at Carolina are never going to stop. But I feel like Michael Malone teams are going to be identified by being tough-nosed teams. And another aspect of that he talked about on Wednesday was how he wants to schedule in a similar way in non-conference, wanting to play anybody at any time. And I love that. I respect that. That was Roy Williams. We saw that a couple years ago, 2 seasons ago with Coach Davis, although Carolina kind of bit off more than they could chew. Because it's one thing to schedule the games, it's another thing to win them. You can talk a big game, but you got to win some big games too. And so Coach Malone said about the non-conference schedule, I think it's a really nice mix. It's a very competitive schedule, meaning this year's. And obviously, we have to start getting ready for the following year's schedule. I appreciate that he's already thinking about that. He's looking ahead to 27, 28 and thinking like, all right, what are we going to do here? There's a couple games we already know, right? Carolina and Butler are going to play home and away. Carolina and Georgia are going to play home and away. And this NC State game is going to be on the non-con slate as well already. So we know 3 of them, plus, of course, CBS Sports and other things. So anyway, but there's a lot of slots to fill with that. He went on to say, and here's where I love it, quote, I'm a coach where I'm not afraid to play people. We'll play the best teams. I'm looking forward to scheduling those type of games because we want to put our best foot forward and we want to compete against the best and give our fans something they can truly get excited about. End quote. Michael Malone, I love you and I love this because he's fan focused. I've caught this a lot in the things he says. Like he wants to do that for the people that love the Carolina program, but he also wants to do it to test his program. I think part of it now that we have more regular season games, 18 ACC games, meaning now you can play 14 non-conference games. Like we almost get as many non-conference games as we do ACC games, which is great. And reminder, the NCAA tournament's getting expanded this year by 8 teams. And so you can take a couple more losses, like you can absorb a couple more losses and it might hurt your seeding, but it's not going to hurt your inclusion at the same level as it would have a year ago and before. And so that's an opportunity to test yourself. And I love, and it makes sense with who Michael Malone is, where he's from, that he wants to go out and we talked about this earlier this week on the show. He's going after the best players and he's going to have those players playing in the best games. Michael Malone, kudos to you, sir. That's exemplified in everything he's doing. Like he was asked, what can fans expect? Hardworking teams, a toughness, both mentally and physically, and playing together. That sounds very similar to a Dean Smithism, play hard, play smart, play together, right? It's right there. Maybe the verbiage is a little different, but Michael Malone is bringing Dean Smith basketball to this hard, tough-nosed approach to playing, to getting players, and to scheduling. I love that. And that's the kind of coach that makes me want to run through a wall for him. I can't wait to see how the Tar Heels navigate this very difficult schedule. I know a lot of people have poo-pooed the level of some of the game. It's like, all right, Georgia, fine. Butler, Georgetown, whatever. But Arkansas is going to be great. Illinois is going to be really, really good, like top 5 in the nation good. Arkansas could be as well. And Kentucky should be great. I think they're still looking at adding pieces as some of these 2022 guys get eligibility. And so look out, man. It's going to be a fun and potentially bumpy non-conference, but we're going to learn a lot about this team and Coach Malone quickly. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for being here on Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, man, this is the push right now. All summer, I've been pushing downloading audio versions of the show, and please keep doing that. Like, it is changing the game for our show, and it's because of you. So keep going to the audio versions, turn on automatic downloads, and let them rip, because it's the downloads that really, truly matter, even if you're not listening to every episode. But we now are less than 250 YouTube subscribers from 15,000. Please go share it with a friend, a buddy, a coworker, a family member, whom, like your favorite Dookie, because they want to hate watch it, or favorite NC State person, whatever. Let's get this thing to 15,000, man. This community is a blast, and I love to be the jolly ringleader of all of it. Thanks for being here with us. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, which is another way to get in and actually talk with this great community, man, literally, we're a couple hundred away now from 1,000 people in there. It's crazy. That link's in the show notes, free to join. Also, the Every Dare Club, where you get ad-free audio versions of the show. That link's in the show notes as well. Let's get out of here the way we always do. Say it with me. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.